Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Let me know when you all are here so I can start. Hi, Violin. How are you? Violin. You first. Where everyone, Annalise? Hi, Gasha. This is Unit 2 revision, paper 1. So I'm doing Unit 2 Cape, Unit 2 today. So this may not be applicable to you. So you can jump off if you like. So we're going to look at 2019 and 2018, the revision of it. Annalise, can you all hear me okay? Bye, Gasho. Next week I'll be doing your classes. Thank you, Annalise, for that. All right. I think there's someone else I need to remind about class today. I think Iola said she was on the way home, so let us see what's going on. Annalise, you seeing? Didn't I post the link in the chat? I posted the link before. So, hi, Ayola. Just now, eh? Okay, so I hope Miranda is here because she asked me to go over 2019. So let us look at 2019. Let's start at 2019. So the tropospores is that part of the atmosphere where, so I know you all have the answer sheets, but basically you should have an idea of where the tropopause is, right? So based on those answers that were given there, you know the tropopause is which part of the atmosphere. Miranda, you there? So the tropopause would be where? What is the characteristics of the tropopause? That is the very, very first thing under climate, right? It goes through the layers of the atmosphere. So you have the tropopause and you have the stratosphere. No, we're looking at 2019 first. So 2019, the first question is a tropopause. Is that part of the atmosphere where? So looking at the answers they gave you, I'm asking you what is the characteristic of the tropopause? It is the, so you should know that it is the lowest part of the atmosphere, right? And it is thicker towards the equator and then thinner towards the pole. And this is where you have 75% of the gases found in the atmosphere. It is also where we look at where the temperature, right? There's no change in the temperature. So you see where temperature do not change with an increase in height. That is the tropopause. So that answer would be C, right? Temperature remain constant with height. So number one is C. Everybody following that? Number two, you have a graph, right? And it's showing the Hadley cell model. So I just gave out the answer. So the diagram is, which it is C, Hadley, right? So you have to remember that. Number three, which of the following weather conditions is typical of anticyclones in the northern hemisphere? So you should be very familiar with this. Number three is, you remember to like the video and share the video and also subscribe. Oh no, Ayola, I cannot share the paper on the screen because I reached my maximum limit. So what you can do is pull up the paper and at least share it in the group chat. You can pull up the paper. So that one is A, very good. So clear skies, remember anticyclone, it is the opposite of cyclonic conditions or the low pressure system. So we know low pressure system is associated with instability and unstable conditions. So that would be rain, right, thunder showers, etc. Whereas the opposite of that would be clear blue skies, which would be anticyclones. Everybody following me? Number four, which of the following processes is best described solar radiation? So what is solar radiation? So is one, the transfer of solar energy to the earth. The transfer of solar energy to the earth is that solar radiation. The transmission of energy as electromagnetic wave, is it that? Or is it three, the result of contact made by two bodies of unequal temperature? Out of these three, right, which one would you say is most accurate? A. So it's one and two, the transfer of solar energy and the transmission of energy as electromagnetic waves. Next question, one and two, which is A. The reason why hurricanes do not, yes, Annalise, that is correct. One and two, which is A. Number five, which the reason why hurricanes do not develop within 5 degrees of the equator. Why? Anybody understand why? What is responsible for that deflection of winds? When we talk about the deflection of winds, you should understand that we're speaking to which force is that? No, it is not. It is not C. It is B, the Coriolis force. So the Coriolis force is too weak. So that is why, of course, you wouldn't have hurricanes developing, because remember the Coriolis force drives the wind speed, right? So it is actually B. Number 6. So number 6, they give you a diagram and they ask you to label the pairs of processes. So you should know in soils, right? You have the movement of minerals up, or you can have also the bringing of it washing out. I don't want to call the actual terms. So what do you think that is? So the downward movement is called what? The ones that you have there. Number 1 is what? What is that movement called? The downward movement of the minerals. Leaching, very good. And then the upward movement of the bringing the minerals upward or drawing that upward is called capillary action. Very good. Number 7. So for number 7, I know you all probably saw the answer sheet, right? So some answer sheet had this one incorrect. Carrie, I will be doing CSEC all of next week because CAPE exam is on Friday, right? So next week, please go on. 7. The soil type shown in the diagram is least likely to be found in which region? So I think when you all came across this particular answer sheet, I think they gave you 2. Um, One was saying B in the answer sheet, I think, Annalise, you sent to me. But if you look at, if you know that this particular soil horizon is found in grasslands, so from the top of your head, you should know that the Amazon basin is not um, grasslands. You would not find the is not grassland. That is tropical rainforest. So it would be C, the Amazon basin. Everybody understand that? The Amazon basin. So the South American pampas, that area is also a grassland. So if you actually did a Google search on it, you would have seen that. Number 8, what is the name given to the wind depicted in the diagram? So we did this question several times when you all had to look at anabatic and katabatic winds. So this should be an easy response to you. Which one is this? Number 8 is, so one is upward and then one is downward. The movement of the winds. Which one is upward? It is C, anabatic, right? And katabatic would be the opposite. So if you get a question like that in the exam, you should be able to follow that. You know that katabatic, right? The direction of the wind, and then of course the opposite direction would be that. What type of front is this? You all should be able to also look at it where you have warm air in contact with cold air. What? Hi Miranda, you're late, right? What? We did 9 questions already. What type of front is that where you have warm air coming in contact with cool air. So it's actually showing you the direction of the arrow, which is very important, because if the arrow was showing that the cold air was coming into the warm air, then you would have known that would have been a cold front. But it's showing you that the warm air is going into the cold air. So that's a warm front. Everybody following? Number 10, the rate at which temperature decreases in a rising parcel of air changes with condensation, because what happens? This is a nice question. We spoke about this so many times. So what actually causes that condensation when air masses or a parcel of air begins to rise? What causes that? That process that results in the condensation. Very good. Latent heat is being released, which is A. Mountains are said to make their own climate because we talked about microclimates. So you all should be familiar with microclimates. Mountains are said to have their own microclimate, just like urban heat islands. So 11 is because they influence temperature and rainfall, just like an urban heat island that would cause um, influence the temperatures as well and the rainfall. So you know the mountainous areas to the top is cooler, right, than to the bottom. Number 12, so jet streams here, and they ask you to label what is L. So you have the cells, right? So what is L? What type of, um, what do you call that? Look at where it is positioned, right? So it is a little bit over 30 degrees north, right? So that area is considered what? A, it is subtropical. Very good. 13, this is a triangular graph, and you have to be able to read it, right? So if you look at it, it's asking you what is the soil texture of a sample with 30 sand, 36 silt, and 34 clay. So when you read each one of it, you then draw the intersection, and that would be what? Number 13 is what? No, no, not sandy clay. It's B. It's clear loam. Clear loam, right? So look at where you have 30, 36, and then 34. So that is clear loam. Number 14, lapse rate. So this is the lapse rate at which a parcel of air is cooling is known as what? Where a lapse rate begins to cool. Number 14, it's a dry adiabatic lapse rate, right? Dry adiabatic lapse rate. So look at the diagram, Annalise. You would see lapse rate at which a parcel of air is cooling is known as dry adiabatic lapse rate. Number 15, at which height would dew point occur? So how do you read this graph? You have to look where the DLR changes over to SALR, because that is where it then becomes saturated. So when you read that off, that would give you at what point would dew point take place. Look at where it changes. It's at 500. Very good. So that 500, so you see where the DLR is, and then it switches over to SALR. That point is the point of saturation, or where it becomes switches from a dry to a wet. So that is where dew point occurs, where condensation takes place and latent heat is released. Miranda, you understand why it's not 800 and why it is 500? It's actually, look at where the DLR stops, because that is usually one line. And then it switches over to the SALR. Do you understand that? Number 16, for people who just joined, we're looking at 2019 paper, Cape Unit 2 2019. I cannot pull up the paper because I don't have any more free screen sharing. So make sure that you pull up the paper to follow. Number 16, fair trade policies are designed to ensure that the best prices are obtained by whom? So free trade policies. It is supposed to favor who? Thank you. Farmers in which world? It is supposed to ensure the best prices for farmers in the developing countries. That is why they started fair trade policies or implemented it. Yes, Bisham, very good. Thank you, Annalise. Yes, you all remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel as yet as well. Offshoring. When we talk about the term offshoring, what is offshoring? So just like you have outsourcing, you also have offshoring. What is offshoring? And this is in industries. They use this in industries a lot. So we know by process of elimination, it's not one and two, right? It is the hiring of workers in another country. Very good. So you can offshore, right, where you get workers to complete the task in another country. Very good. 18. 18. Which of the following factors is a negative impact of the presence of MNCs on developing countries? So multinational corporations are those large companies like um, you can have like British Gas, for example, in the oil and gas sector that comes to Trinidad and Tobago. What is one of the major negative impacts of having an MNC develop in your country? What it fosters? It becomes We become dependent on MNCs. For example, in oil and gas, most of our companies, right? British Gas, British Petroleum, those multinational corporations are outside companies, and we become heavily dependent on them in the long term, right? Number 19 goes through the Common Agricultural Policy, CAP. And remember, CAP also went through a period of reform after. So what CAP seeks to address? What was the first reason why they implemented the CAP policy? So the Common Agricultural Policy right? What was the main thing, right? They were producing a lot, but in terms of the answers that you have there, no, it's not D. It was actually C. Provide consumers with stable and reasonable food prices, right? So it's actually C, to provide the consumers with stable and reasonable food prices. So what happened with the Common Agricultural Policy is that the European Union, um, they a number of countries felt like they needed to start to produce their own food because after the war, etc., they started providing their own food, which led to a glut on the market, meaning it had so much, and then they started to regularize what happened, and it also basically implemented fair prices for all of the farmers. So they gave them a lot of subsidies. They eventually implemented quotas and all of these things in the policy, right? Number 20, Weber's locational theory. When you look at localized, remember you can have localized and ubiquitous materials. So localized is, and then ubiquitous means what? So when you get questions like this, try to remember what the theory explains. So you localize means what? So the opposite of localized in the context of Weber is ubiquitous, which means that it is evenly distributed or it is everywhere. So localized means it's specific to a particular area, specific to a particular region. Very good, Daniel. Right? 21. Which of the following activities are most likely examples of the informal economy? So the opposite of informal is the formal economy, where people are actually paying taxes, your company is registered. Informal is where you have you do not pay taxes, right? So what are most likely the examples here? Vending on a small scale is one. Yes. Driving one own taxi and supplying a flea market. So I would go with all of the above, Annalise. So remember, flea market is also informal, right? There's no regulatory bodies for a flea market. So all three activities would be considered. Very good, Bisham. 22, right? Which of the following best characterizes the informal economy? So we know that it is not A. We know that it is not D. So by process of elimination, it is what? No, no, it's not capital intensive. So think about Ayola, when those people are the side of the road selling drinks. Do you think they need a large capital startup? No, right? It is labor intensive. Most of the time, it requires a lot of you, right? Your involvement in the business. So driving a taxi, people who selling on the street, they might be doing that for long, long hours. Remember, they don't have regular hours, so it is very labor intensive. You understand that, right? Number 23 is the locational triangles. So you have to look at the triangle. It gives you the raw material source 1 and 2, the point of production, and then the distance from the market. So based on that, now you look at the statements, and which of the statements is true. Do you remember what is weight loss? So the first one, it says products that undergo weight loss. Do you remember what is weight loss? So you have products that can either weight gain or they can weight lose. What happens with a weight losing product is basically, as it says, the finished product is weighs less than the raw material, right? So the answer for this one, and weight gain is the opposite, where the actual product is heavier than the raw materials. So where they should be located is important. So they say weight gain should be R2, that would be wrong, right? If it's heavier, you want to locate it closer to the market because you don't want to have to incur that transportation cost. So it will be C, right? C. Optimum location based on transportation cost is represented by P. Let us go on to 24. 24. This is the tourism butler's model, and there are 6 stages here. They want you to represent X. So what happened at X? After consolidation, what happens? That can actually go into rejuvenation or stabilization phase. What happens here? What happens at that stage? It becomes stagnation. Stagnation. Very good. 25. Very good. The model, which of the following statements is false? This is von Thunen's agricultural model. So if you look at it, according to the model, which of the following statement is false? So you have to look again at the distance from the market, right? And um, the profit margin. So for 25, which of the following statement is true? The first one, at X, the profit of one land use outweighs the profit of another. Is that true? At Y, right, you see that it is less profitable to cultivate land use 2 than land use 1. Is that false or is that true? So they're asking for the answer that is false. Sorry, the statement that is false. So the statement that is false would be B. Very good, Daniel. Thank you. Very good. So B, right, is the answer. 26, the von Thunen model. What is not an assumption of his model? So you have to remember some of the assumptions of the von Thunen's model. Good. D. So one of the things that is not an assumption, right, is that transportational cost is indirectly proportional to distance, right? So that is correct, right? So he saw the others underlying assumptions. Number 27. Which of the following outcomes is most likely a benefit of the formal? So for this one, I was weighing in with two answers. Which of the following is most likely a benefit from the formal sector. So it was between, what do you all think it is? And I will tell you all what I have. Because these two answers are very close. I need to get some feedback on this one. I was I was saying A, but the formal sector, it also provides jobs for the unemployed, but there's also a fix, um, in terms of capital, they would be paid a fixed amount in terms of salary. So I think I'm leaning more towards C, Annalise. I would say C. I went with C because the capital is not really fixed, because they can also change your wages. Look like in the pandemic, right? They cut people wages, etc. So I went with C. 28. Which of the selected countries experienced the highest growth between the two periods? So you look at each of the countries and then you see which one had the highest growth rates as a percentage. Which country had the highest percentage of? It is D, the Philippines. Very good. 29, 29. Yes, 28 is D, 29 now. This is a question on, again, weight gaining and weight losing. So this is Weber. The material index for product G is what? So let us look at it. So the material index, right? So you have G, and they're asking you, what is it for 29? Yes, yes, Annalise. So remember, you have a calculation for it. You have the calculation for the actual material index. So it is here, you have 1, and it will be 1 divided by 5 for G. So that answer would be 0.2. 0.2. You got that? 1 divided by 5, 0.2. Right? Remember, there's the actual equation, right? The equation. So 1 divided by 5. 30. How does increasing backward linkages in Caribbean tourism benefit the economy? So what is backward linkages? So you have forward linkages and then you have backward linkages. Right. So with backward linkages, it's actually benefiting the local suppliers, right? Because you would utilize them in your economy. So, for example, if you have a hotel and you have people that can supply the hotel with food in terms of like the fishing, like fisheries in terms of seafood, etc. That way they can reduce the imports of some of the food. And that was one of the major issues when they wanted to build sanders. People were saying that they didn't want them because they would have brought in all of the products and we would have not been able to reduce the imports, right? Because they would still bring in their own. So it is D, reduce imports by using the local suppliers. 31, right. So the percentage change. Annalise, I think it's one like this that you was giving me, right? You was asking me to do the percentage change for agriculture. So how many years do you have? You have 2012 to 2013, 2014. So you have 4 years, right? Yes, the answer is B. So how do we calculate it? So you look at the agriculture analysis, right? So if you notice, from 49 all the way down to 25, right? You had, yes. So you have to first minus it, analyze. You see that there? You minus it, and then of course you find the percentage. So do it in terms of numbers. So it will be good. So it will be 43 minus 25, right? Equals 18 over the first year, right, by 100 over 1. So you get the difference between the actual first and last year, which is 2012 to 2015. So 43 minus 25, and at least you do it, right? That will give you 18. 18 divided by 43, which was the first year, right? Then you multiply by that. Then you find the percentage. You get it, Annalise? And why it's not a positive? Why it was not 41.9? You understand why it's not 41? Because there was an actual decline as the years increased. All right? 32. Okay, good. Very good, because there was a decrease. Yes. Just to make sure that you know why it's minus 41.9. 32, the multiplier effect. What is the multiplier effect? So this would be which theory in terms of theory? Which one is this? Which theory is this? Cumulative causation model, which is regional right? This one deals with regional disparities, and it talks about the multiplier effect here, right? Where you have Mardell cumulative causation model, right? Where you talk about having not just one strong core, but you have several growth pole areas and the peripheral areas that would lead to the multiplier effect. 33. Which of the following factors is mainly responsible for disparities in levels in the development among Caribbean countries? So why do we have disparities among the countries, right? What is it? Which one is most accurate? Very good, Bisham. Very good. A, very good. Right? Because not all countries in the Caribbean have abundance of resources. Not like Trinidad, who have petroleum and the actual tourism in Tobago, but most of them mainly depends on tourism, right? So that is it, limited resources. When we look at Rostow's model, this is a global, he looks at global disparities in development. And his last stage in the model of development, of course, is what? High consumption, high mass consumption. Very good, Miranda. High mass consumption, right? H, I think it's H, the high mass consumption, right? 35. Which of the following are consequences of regional disparities? So remember, we just talked about Mardell cumulative causation model being the model that addresses regional disparities. So what is what is the answer for 35? Do you have rural depopulation, continued dominance of the primate city, decline in the young population in rural areas? 35 is which? It is D. Very good. All of the above. So again, rural depopulation because people move from that rural area into the urban area for job, the younger people. So that is why you also have the decline in the young, and of course the continued dominance of the main primate city. 36. Which following strategies fostered integration among Caribbean countries? What trade policies. So it tried to foster some sort of integration in terms of economic, right? Multilateral aid. So aid can be bilateral or it can be multilateral, and it can also be um, what we say formal aid. So this would be formal aid in terms of bilateral, multilateral, or it can also be informal. So aid has been criticized because what? When you look at aid, good, D, because it creates dependency, right? It doesn't look at environmental concerns, and a lot of the times when they get aid, it fosters corruption because sometimes it is not trickled down to the people who really need the aid in the country. So that is why, like when Soufriere, that volcano erupted, they were giving you certain agencies to go through to send your aid so that it gets to the people who need it the most. 38. Which of the following conditions is most likely the reason for the low life expectancy in South Africa? So again, no. How dropout don't really have a direct link to low life expectancy. Um, Gashan, can you um, send me a message and I can send it to you? Or I just it's B. So Gashan, send me an email and I can send it to you. Or I just started a Discord where I can post it for you. Let me see if I can get that. So it is HIV and AIDS. So if you do a quick Google search, Google search um will tell you that, right? 39, 39. Which of the following features is common to the Caribbean countries listed in the table below? So you have to look at the table and go through it. So 39. The answer is B. Life expectancy over 60 years at birth. So for the countries listed, you would see that the question 39 is B, right? You don't have anyone with a lower life expectancy. Forte, Forte, which of the following agencies is not involved in providing multilateral aid? Join the Discord channel, y'all, and I will post all the answers and the question papers as well. Forte, which one is not involved? Very good. The World Trade Organization. So we know that the World Bank, no, I didn't do 2020, just 2019. I'm doing on 2018. I will probably go through the answer sheet for 2020 tomorrow, and we can do some questions tomorrow as well. So we can do 2020 and 2017 and maybe 2016. So 41 now. So 40 is C, right? World Trade Organization. 41, the HDI is a better measure of GNI, gross domestic product, because it captures the social indices. So it looks at education, like adult literacy, life expectancy, standard of living, right? So that is why the Human Development Index is better. So that would be A. 42, which diagram is this? In the core periphery model, they ask you which stage does this represent in the core periphery model, where you have the peripheral areas interacting with the core. Which stage of the model does this diagram represent? It represents B, stage 2 of the model. 43, they give you this one is very tricky. Number 43 is very tricky because when I um, Google the two countries, right? Which country is most similar to P? It can either be USA, which is A, or it can also be South Africa. I believe that it is probably closer to, um, in terms of these figures, I believe it's closer to, um, a little bit closer to South Africa. So I believe it's D. It is very, very close, right? I would say I would go with D for this one. If you do a search on it on Google, Google the countries, just type in employment sectors for USA and South Africa. I think the numbers that they have here, it's closer to South Africa. So I would go with South Africa. 44. Which of the following best describes the relationship between gross national product and infant mortality rate? So if you look at the money in terms of GNP, and then you look at the infant mortality rate, what can you say about it? Is there an inverse, an indirect, an exponential, a logarithmic? What would you say? So the lower your capital in terms of GNP, right, the higher is your infant mortality. And then you have the higher your GNP, the lower your infant mortality. So it has an inverse relationship. Very good, Ayola. And then 45, which of the following statement is true? You look at the table again. Which one is true? It's A. Very good, Bisham. So it's A. Country W is least likely to be developed because they have this very high infant mortality rate and a very low gross domestic product. So that was 2019. You all want to move on to 2018 or you all tired? 2018. Do you all want to go on with 2018? You're cooking with gas? All right. 2018. Cool. So 2018. Which of the following statement explains why unstable air continues to rise? So this is talking about your how air rises, hot air rises in terms of the environmental lapse rate, right? What is causing hot air in terms of when you have instability, what causes that to continue to rise? Number one, 2018. Good. The rising air is warmer than the surrounding air, right? So that is C. Number two, jet streams. And jet streams occur in which part of the atmosphere? You have to remember this. So, what are jet streams? Right? Remember where they are located. Jet streams are winds which occur where? D, near the top of the troposphere. Very good. Number 3, the tropopause. This, yes, D is correct, near the top of the troposphere. Right? Number 3, this question was repeated. So we just got this question about the tropopause in 2019. So we should know that the answer is D, that the temperature remained constant with height in with the tropopause, right? Number 4, the process of conversion of snowflakes directly to water vapor without passing through the liquid phase is called what? Anybody know this? What is this process called? It is definitely not deposition. We know that. It cannot be condensation, and it's not evaporation. So by process of elimination, no, no, no. They tell you it didn't go through the liquid phase. So it's sublimation, which is B. Right? Very good, Andrina. Hi, Andrina. Never seen you on before. Nice to have you responding. Number 5, we got that question previously in 2019 as well. The with circulatory cell is represented by this model, and I just gave you all that answer. So this would be what? Number 5 is Hadley, right? The Hadley cell. You have again another triangular graph, and you have to read it. They ask you this time, which of the following composition represents P? So you have to read off P. So look at where silt is. You would notice silt is going downwards like this. So, right? It is 10, 20, 30, right? Then you have clay, and then you have sand at the bottom. So P represents what? So the horizontal line will give you sand. Yes, then the one that is increasing to 100 would give you silt. And then the opposite direction would give you clay. So that is B. Very good. 17, 70, 13. Anybody don't know how to read it? So what you have to do is look at the direction in which the numbers are increasing. So from the silt side, you would see it goes from 0 to the top and then 100 to the bottom. The clay is on the opposite side. And then, of course, sand would be the horizontal readings. Right? Number 7, we just had a question like this in 2019. Again, the atmospheric cooling process illustrated above here. So where you have fog forming over surface, what type of cooling is that? Remember, you have four ways. Advection, very good. Advection, which is C. Advection, good, very good, all of you. Which of the following weather system occurrences is a high pressure system? So number 8, we know what is the low pressure systems. So ITCZ would be low pressure, tropical cyclones, depression. Therefore, the high pressure system is anticyclone, which is C. Very good. 8 is C. Number 9, the study of climate within a rainforest is called what? So we just talk about microclimates in terms of mountains having microclimates, just like urban heat islands have their own microclimates. So the study of this would be called, if you never came across it, then you should know from studying microclimates that it would be microclimatology, which is D. Very good. Number 10. Which of the following is true for tropical cyclones? So tropical cyclone is, remember, it's a low pressure system with a specific um, range for winds, right? That will give you wind speed. So that answer should be what? So if they don't have the correct wind speed, then you can't choose that. So which one is 10 is, which answer is 10? Tropical cyclones. No, no. It is A. They occur within the trade wind belts. Remember the northeast trade winds, right? Um, Usually is the starting point where you have before they develop into a tropical cyclone. Number 11. Soil texture can be determined by squeezing moistened soil in the hand. If the soil does not cohere, it is most likely to be what? Everybody should know this. Number 11 is number 11 is uh-uh it's sand. Number 11 is sand, which would be sand. Annalise is sand. So you remember sand, if particles don't stick together, right? So they can have some sort of attraction, but sand, it's usually very grainy. So it's sand. 12. Which of the following vegetation types, Annalise, you understand that, violin queen? How do you make sandcastles? I think it's the actual mold, but you realize sandcastles don't last very long, right? Remember when they put the water, it don't last for a very long time. Um, Number 12. Yeah, sandcastles don't last. Number 12. Which of the following vegetation types would normally be associated with a water deficit? So we know that rainforests are called rainforests for a particular reason, right? Because they produce rain. So which vegetation you would have a deficit type? Number 12. 1 and 3, grasslands. So grasslands, they usually have long roots, tap roots to actually help extract water deeper within the water table, right? They have that adaptation technique. Number 13, which of the following soil types are calcium carbonate not used normally associated? I think we had this question before. Um, which calcium nodules are formed in which type of soil? Chanosomes. Very good. Chanosomes. Right? Number 14. What is the name given to the wind depicted in the direction in the diagram? They love to bring this question. This was also in 2019. So we just I think we did this exam question, a different diagram, but same question. So this has to do with anabatic and katabatic winds again. So which one is it? No, it's B. It's anabatic. Annalise, how you get how? No, it's anabatic. We just did this question in 2019. So it's anabatic. The winds blowing up the slopes of the mountain. 15. Now, which of the following soil analysis techniques is difficult to perform in the field? Which would be difficult to perform in the field? It is C, organic content, right? Because even though you see the organic content in the leaf litter layer where the leaf litter will fall and you have that top layer, it may also have organic content in the other layers. So it's difficult to perform that soil analysis on it. But soil depth you can measure, you can do the hand texturing and test the temperature. So it would be C. 16. Yes, the others are field activities, which you can do as you go outside. You can just measure it, you can use your hand and touch it, right? Very good, Bisham. 16. In which type of industry is the majority of the population in least developed countries usually employed? So everybody should know this. Primary industry is like the dying industry now, right? A lot of people want to be employed in the service, tertiary, quaternary fields, more technology-based fields now, right? 17, again, you have to do this percentage change. I think it's the same exact question. So we know that the answer is number 17 is B. Everybody got that right? Number 17 is B. We just went through that. Number 17 is B. 18. Which of the following statement is true regarding post-industrial society? So post-industrial would be after the industrial um, revolution, like after industrialization by invitation, etc. What happened? Which answer is correct? B, very good. B, manufacturing has become less important. Number 19, what is Annalise? Annalise, where are you? Friedman's models for which one? Or in terms of the model, it's not necessarily a model, they're just speaking in general, right? Number 19. Which of the following statements best summarize the information in the table? So you are looking at percentage of revenue and by sector. So you have to just give the best statement. So look at agriculture, look at industry, look at the service. So the best answer is D. Very good, Ayola and Bisham, very good. The best answer is D. Countries' X economy is dependent on the tertiary. Weber's theory, we went through this a lot in the last set of questions as well. His analysis is also referred to as what? So Weber's something something theory, and he said it in his theory itself, so you should know it is the least cost, Weber's least cost theory. 21. Farmers in Southeast Asia have adopted mountainous areas for agricultural use. Why? By what type of method have they developed that would allow them to plant in Asia? Very good, constructing terraces. So like if you look at Bali and these places, they have really nice terraces, like out in the rice fields and these things, really really nice, right? So constructing terraces, that would be B. 22. 22. Which of the following factors have negatively, we just went through this, so this answer is, we just said it would have been 1, 2, and 3, right? Which is D. Yes? So that is D. 23. Now, the introduction of new types of high yield rice and wheat in Southern Asia is referred to as what? What is that called? The genetically modifying of crops to increase yields is referred to as, and it started in India. B, the Green Revolution. Very good. The Green Revolution. Very good. 24. Which of the following outcomes, is not an effect of tourism? We just did this. Did we do this? No, we didn't do this one. Which of the following outcomes is not an effect of tourism on the environment? So on the environment, the answer is A. Very good. Housing development. It has nothing to really do with housing development. 25. Which of the following are possible effects of agriculture on the environment? Can you have salinization? Which one are you asking for, Bisham? Yes, I went with A, housing development, right? Um, Tourism really don't influence housing development, but they influence hotels and beaches, infrastructure development, and physical destruction of the physical features. Yes, 24 is A. 25. 25. Can you, possible effects of agriculture? 25 is, can you have salinization? Everybody know what is salinization? When you have basically it's salt intrusion in the soil, right? It can happen. near the sea wetland areas, waterlogging of the soil can happen, right? Loss to the gene pool. So it can actually lead to all three, one, two, and three, which would be D, right? Which would be D. So 25 is D. 26. Weber's theory of industrial location is based on what? What is his most important thing? The assumption of his theory. The most important thing has to do with what in his theory? The most important assumption is transport costs. Very good. Very good, Bisham. 27. What stage of the model does X represent? We just went through this as well. So we'll skip through it very quickly. So 27 is also a stagnation. And when you get to stagnation, you can either have rejuvenation or a decline, right? 28. Butler's model of tourism would, at which stage of Butler's model of tourism would a resort cater for a mass market? Which stage? Look at it. Look at the model above and tell me what stage would that be. Number 28. So just look at the model above and it will give you an idea. It will be consolidation, which is D. Very good, violin. Very good, Andrina Bisham. Good. We have another Weber model here in terms of raw materials. Um, and the question is, so you have raw material site 1, 2, and then the market. So what would be the total cost of shipping the raw materials and products if the market is chosen at the production site? So you just have to add it is 50. Very good, 50. Annalise, you know how to calculate it, right? Everybody know how to calculate it? How did you calculate it? So you have R1 and R2, which is raw material site 1 and raw material site 2. And then you have the cost of transporting to the market. Okay, good. Right? So just follow the arrows. 30. Which of the following terms describe the decline in productivity and employment in the industrial sector? So this is term what? It is, what is that term? To describe a decline in productivity and employment. Deindustrialization. Very good, Danielle. Deindustrialization. 31. Which of the following statistical technique is used to measure significant relationship between two sets of data? And this one you all should also know. This one is 31 is when you are looking at a relationship between two sets of data. What statistical measure do you use? Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. Then you have, this is Rostow's models of development. Which of the following feature is not characteristic of stage one? So look at stage one. Which answer it is? D. Very good. The economy is geared towards mass consumption. So that is what it is not characteristic of. 33. According to the model, which stage of economic growth is represented at stage 3? Stage 3. B. Take off to maturity. Very good. 34 now. The principle of the multiplier effect is explained. We just did this. So we know that this answer is the cumulative causation model by Maridal. Maridal cumulative causation model. 35. Which of the following is a measure of global disparity in development? This one was a little bit tricky. 35. What did you put for 35? C. I have C. But at first I was saying B, but then I saw neighboring countries, and neighboring countries might just be regional. So I went with C, right? That was my reasoning behind it. C. Everybody agree to C? Okay, good. 36. A high level of development is indicated by a high what? So when you have a high level of development in a country, it is reflected by what? The standard of living of the population, which can be seen in the country's something rate. What is that? 36 is B. Very good. Life expectancy. Very good. 37. The Human Development Index gives countries a score between what and what? Thirty-seven. B. Very good. 0 and 1 for wealth, health, and education. B. Wealth, health, and education. B. 0 and 1. Very good. Y'all, why y'all putting me like you're not sure? So with question marks, the answer is B. The three areas. 38. Critics of aid from developed to less developed countries are concerned that aid creates what? And we just did this answer as well. We just did. So we know that this is D. It creates 1, 2, and 3. Creates dependency, ignores environmental claims, and supports corruption. Aid given by country X to country Y. Remember, I was just telling you previously, you can have aid, which is formal in terms of bilateral aid, multilateral aid, unilateral aid. So, what would you say? So, one country giving to another country is called what? Not the analyst, no. Oh, that was for the previous answer. Okay. A. Bilateral. Bilateral means two or between. Think of it as between two countries. Which country has the highest HDI in the region? Do you all know? The country with the highest HDI in the region is 40 is not Barbados. Sorry, not Jamaica, Barbados. It is Barbados. How you all have B? B is Jamaica. That's incorrect. It is definitely Barbados, which is C. 40 is C, Barbados C, not Jamaica, right? Barbados is C. 41. The following strategies has been first. We just did this one. So 41 we know is the answer is D, trade policies. We did that in the last question as well. 42. Which countries experienced the least decline in infant mortality from 1960 to 1970? So you have to find the difference again. Which country the least decline in infant mortality out of all of the countries? Which country had the least? Trinidad and Tobago, unfortunately, yeah. Trinidad. So that is D. The answer is D. 43 now. Which of the following lists shows the rank of countries based on per capita income? So 43 is A. Very good. Antigua is first, right? Followed by Cuba, then St. Kitts and Nevis, and then Guyana. Then you have to look at this and look at the percentage. Two countries can be considered developing based on the percentage employed in each sector. So you're looking at the sectors: agriculture, industry, service. Which two countries would you say? 44 is 44 is C, Q and R. Q and R. It is C, Q and R. Right? Look at Q and look at R. Look at their service sectors are lower than the other two countries, right? And their agriculture employment is quite high, especially for Q. And the last question is, which of the following country is most similar to country P? So this, I think this is the same question. So we go back with South Africa. And you notice here it doesn't have US. So this is how I also got that answer for the previous one where it had USA and South Africa. So we will stick with South Africa. And you notice here that it did not have the US there. This year, I posted my email address. So you can email me and I can send them to you, and you can also join the Discord where I would post it so it will be easier for you all to get them. I would post them. Yes, the Discord link works. Click on it and I will post it. I will have to type out the answers because some of the answer sheets had some incorrect responses, right? Okay, so tomorrow we can look at 2020 and 2017, 2016. We can try to do at least 5 years, right? So I have a class at 6, so I need to come off now. I hope that this was helpful for you all. Which link to resend? You're welcome, Andrina. So I will do the 2020, 2017, 2016 tomorrow, right? So let us, we can start at probably 2 because I have a session in the morning again. Is 2 o'clock good or 1 o'clock? What about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock? Is that good? Which is better for you all? Let me know. Exam is tomorrow? I'd say, oh, Caribbean is tomorrow. Okay. What time you all would finish tomorrow? Oh, so maybe I would start at 2 because I have a class at 6. So that is my problem. That is why all my sessions have to be pushed back. So I will try to start at 2. I guess people who have exams, you all can catch the recording. You all can catch the recording because it will be up on the YouTube channel anyhow for you all. All right. Well, have a good afternoon. Bye. Thank you, Bisham. You too.